That was an absolute brutal one here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Red Sox dropped this one in extras 4-3 here tonight, losing the two-game series, losing both games to the Orioles. This might be one of the worst losses of the year. I was hoping tonight was going to end up finishing on a positive note. It wasn't looking very positive at one point. But then Nate Lowe, man, oh man, what a moment for him. First start in a Red Sox uniform, coming up big. I'll talk about that in a second. But this was pathetic here tonight. Listen, I get it. Baseball's a hard game. I understand it. And you know what? There's been a lot of brutal losses here for the Red Sox this year. You go back to the first half of the year. I mean, my goodness, it was just... That was something else, man. Yeah, you were having some of the most ugly losses in that first half. And tonight, this ranks up there with some of those, in my opinion. I think the Red Sox deserve to lose this one. You had 3 straight innings tonight with the bases loaded. You couldn't capitalize. You couldn't do a thing. 0-for-13 with runners in scoring position. Nate Eaton was the winning run in the 11th. Fly ball. Can you argue maybe it wasn't quite deep enough? I think you could say that. But Nate Eaton is here for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. His versatility and his athleticism. And you take a look at the speed that guy has, the athleticism that he has. I'm thinking to myself, why? What happened there? What happened at third base? Was that something with him? Was that something with the third base coach, Kyle Hudson? I'm not so sure. To me, I thought I reacted pretty negatively in the moment, but then I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe this is, maybe I'm just a little cheesed off in the moment. Let me relax here for a second. Let me process it. But I'm still looking back on that one. I'm thinking, what happened there? Because in the end, it ended up being a bad throw. A very bad throw. So you wonder, let's say it was a perfect throw. I think a perfect throw would have gotten him out. But any little bit off, you're probably scoring that. And, you got an out. I mean, you're in a situation there where, why not take a chance? You do have Bregman coming up there. So even if he ends up getting out, at least, one swing of the bat from Bregman, which is a possibility, you could end up tying that game still. And I don't know, man. Just tough. Just tough one. Tough one here tonight. Couldn't really get anything going against Tomoyuki Sagano, a guy that's been having a very hard time with the long ball this year. And, of course, he ends up just figuring it out here at Boston. Sagano, this is kind of what he's done all year. He's just been this crafty guy that, sure, he's had his moments, but a guy that could also just work around you and just be a frustrating at-bat, throws a lot of strikes. He's going to throw a lot of different pitches. And the Red Sox just couldn't really figure him out. Only 3 hits off him tonight. Oh, man, just a frustrating one here tonight. Rico Garcia. That is a name that is going to be in my nightmares, I think, for the next couple of weeks. I don't ever want to hear the name Rico Garcia ever again, man. I'm thinking to myself, when Rico Garcia comes in for the 8th, you loaded the bases. Here comes Rico Garcia, and I'm thinking, who the heck is Rico Garcia? I'm thinking, I have not heard this name before at all. This was a guy who just a couple of years ago, back in 2023, had an ERA over a 9. He was in the minor leagues all year last year, bouncing around between a couple of teams. And this year, the Orioles, small sample, I think 18, 19 games coming into tonight out of the bullpen. Pitching pretty decently this year. I think an ERA right around a 3. So he's got something figured out this year. And this guy just comes in and shuts it down. Rico Garcia. That's a name I never want to hear ever again. My goodness. Tip of the cap to that guy, man. Holy cow. He just shut him down. Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler. Mr. Box of Chocolates. What else is there to say about Walker Buehler at this point? Listen, it's the dog days of August. I'm not going to overreact. But at some point, I think the Red Sox, and I do think the Red Sox are, in my opinion, I'm speculating. All right. I haven't heard anything. I haven't been told anything. But you can't help but think if the Red Sox are really looking at Walker Buehler and thinking, is he the guy? Can we trust this guy to give us a competitive start consistently every single time? Are you better off going, back maybe to Richard Fitz, who has looked pretty good in his last couple of starts in the minor leagues? Do you maybe give a shot to Peyton Toley? Lou Merlone likes to call him the little pig, I think. Is that what he calls him? I can't remember. Mini pig, little pig, pig junior, can't remember. But do you maybe give one of those guys a shot? With Walker Buehler at this point, and again, I'm not trying to, sound, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm not trying to sound like I'm picking on Walker here. The guy's a competitor. I've loved his game, going back for several years now, but he is Mr. Box of Chocolates. You really just don't know what you're going to get. And again, the command was off tonight, 4 walks. The Orioles getting a big third inning off of him. Is his job on the line? You got to think. You got to think, man, when you got a couple of guys down to the minors that, even Cooper Criswell at this point, let's actually think about that. Would Cooper Criswell actually give you a better chance to win at this point, at least consistently? I don't know. Am I crazy for thinking that could be a possibility? Well, at this point, I'm okay with seeing what Cooper Criswell can give you. I don't know, man. It's just a tough one here tonight. The Orioles, they have been hot lately. They have been playing pretty decent over the last week or so. They pounded the Astros not too long ago. I believe 10 runs. I think they beat them like 10-0 or something. Just a tough one here tonight. There's a lot to complain about. I hate that I have to go to bed with this one here tonight. I see you in the chat. God's gift, Mike. Walker Buehler is cooked. And I feel bad. I do. I really do, because this is a guy, he took a chance on himself, and this is a guy where he wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants the ball, man, and I hate that he can't seem to figure it out. And we'll get to his performance here in a little bit. It's tough, man. It really is tough. It's tough. And I see you, Mike, again in the chat. Why did we choose to play like this right before the Yankees series? Oh, it is what it is. You got the off day tomorrow, and going into Yankee Stadium, you would have liked that win, a little bit of momentum going into that one. And one more thing to touch on. Nate Lowe, what a great moment. I just mentioned that a little earlier. If you are live here with me right now, you'll be able to see the good moment. I'll be right back.
Here's Lowe, swinging a drive, sucked out to right. Did he do it? He did! It's gone! Say hi!
Man, oh man. Also, Dave O'Brien, can we please start giving a little bit of credit to Dave O'Brien with the great calls, man? Is it me, or is that guy just woken up this year? Holy cow. I don't know. Did he see some comments on Twitter land, on X land, whatever you want to call it? Did something spark Dave O'Brien this year? Because the calls that this guy is making, the energy behind his calls, they're fantastic. Dave O'Brien, man, I've always thought he was fine, but I grew up with Don Ursillo, right? I grew up with Ursillo and the Rem Dog, and I just heard so many great calls over the years. And Dave O'Brien, I thought was fine, but coming into the year, sure, a couple of calls, maybe pretty good, but I don't know. I feel like you haven't heard this energy from Dave O'Brien. Sorry, I'm getting off track, but Nate Lowe, great moment for him. First start tonight with the Red Sox. He did have an at-bat last night, drew the walk. But hey, what a way to start your Red Sox tenure with a home run to tie it up. You got to love that. And this is where I'm wondering about Abraham Toro. Listen, I know Wilyer is out right now, and you really would have liked Wilyer Abreu in that lineup tonight. Let's be real about that one. Wilyer Abreu, that would have been a nice bit of a boost for that lineup here tonight. You can't help but wonder with Wilyer when he comes back, if that is going to spell the end for Abraham Toro, you got to wonder at this point. Real quick before I get to Toro, Cora did say there is a chance that Buehler could maybe take a trip to the IL. Injured the calf not too long ago, just within the last few games, and I said it after that injury. I said you got to watch out for the calf injuries. That's something you don't want to mess around with. You got to be very careful with those. You don't want to leave anything because that's when maybe an Achilles can maybe come into play. You don't want to mess with that, right? You got to be very careful. But when Buehler comes back, I don't see how I don't know. I mean, unless it's just a very minor roll off the bench, I just don't see how Toro is really going to find a whole lot of ABs because at this point, even with the down year that Nate Lowe's been having, how can you not have him start every day? I mean, even you take a look at the numbers of Nate Lowe this year, he does have the 16 homers, well now 17 homers, and over 70 RBIs, but the slash line was terrible, right? WRC plus was terrible. He was a negative wins above replacement player. But still, like even with that, wouldn't you just rather go with Nate Lowe at this point? Even with the down year, the experience that he has, just winning a World Series a couple of years ago, just had a pretty decent year last year. To me, I just don't see how Toro gets playing time unless it's in like just a very reduced role when Buehler comes back. But even then, it's like, I wonder if that's it for Toro. Gotta wonder. I could sit here and I can keep rambling, but we do have to go over inning by inning here tonight. We got to go over the bats. We got to go over Walker Buehler. Also, shout out to the bullpen. Quick shout out to the bullpen. Very good job from the bullpen. They have been struggling, and that was an all-out performance here. Justin Wilson, a couple of messy spots there, right? He wasn't very effective, but for the most part, after him, everything was great. Even Jordan Hicks looked better here tonight. So you gotta love it. Everybody, if you can, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 5K by the end of the season. We are in the dog days of August right now. Views are fluctuating at this point. That's just how it is. I've been doing YouTube now for 5-6 years. August is always kind of a weird month. So, once we get closer to the postseason, we are going to start picking things back up. People are going to start, trickling back in as we get closer to that. So hitting the like button, it's really going to help out with the algorithm and whatnot. So everybody, before I do get to the rest of the coverage here, we do have a word from our sponsor. I'll be right back.
FT fam, when you're playing in games, you kind of have some stress, anxiety, teammates need something to help. Now it's at your fingertips with Rula.
That's right. Telehealth has been a huge help for millions of people, but it can be time-consuming and expensive to find the right therapist. Rula is on a mission to make this process smoother. And make sure you go to rula.com/Val for more details. They take most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only about $15 per session. Every provider on Rula is carefully vetted and chosen for their expertise. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/Val to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please say that FT sent you there to support the show, but also worry about yourself here at rula.com, rula.com/FOUL, and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
All righty, let's get to Walker Buehler. And I do see a couple of you here in the chat, all the familiar faces coming on in. Thank you for joining. One of you were asking about Rob Refsnyder. I'll get to him. I'll get back to Buehler Abreu as well as Justin Slayton. There's a bit of news. I'll talk about those guys at the end or towards the end of the show, so stick around for that. But let's get to it here. Walker Buehler, Mr. Box of Chocolates himself. A lot of sinkers and fastballs tonight, 7 different pitches overall. This is the thing. I don't understand. Every game, it's something completely different. I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know. Is that just not fully having confidence in a set amount of pitches that you really want to lean towards? I mean, he was more towards the sinker and the fastball tonight, but just going so many different pitches. And just makes me think, like, I don't know. I've always been more of I'd rather quality over quantity. And I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. It's just happened a lot this year with Buehler, where he just doesn't seem to have full confidence in really what he's doing, and it just looks like he's throwing everything out there and seeing what sticks. Sure, leaning towards the sinker and the fastball tonight, but wasn't very effective. He walked 4 batters overall on the night. Very tough 5th inning. Holiday with the double. Luis Vasquez with the walk there that ended his night. The pitch count was getting up there, and I don't know. He just wasn't looking all that great, really, in my opinion. He was just kind of, they were making contact off of him. They were getting hard hits off of him, and making hard contact off of him. And you just don't know at that point. I can't trust Buehler either. Especially when you're looking to get a win going into the off day. You got the Yankees coming up, and you want to try and lock this down. And with the off day, I think that was pretty telling. That Cora really wanted, especially with the struggles of the bullpen as of late, you almost wonder if it was another guy out there, like Giolito or Bayo, are those guys getting pulled that quick? I don't know about that. It would have been maybe a nice thing for the bullpen to, have a bit of a refresher here tonight, or, more of a night off, and then the off day tomorrow, and then you're fresh going into Yankee Stadium. But with Buehler, there was just no trust in there at all. So they pulled him. And I get it. And you had the couple of lefties coming up there, but so you're bringing Justin Wilson. But again, I don't think Giolito or Bayo is coming out of that game in that situation. So overall for Buehler tonight, 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 4 Ks, 4 walks. So brutal. Bullpen, Justin Wilson, like I said, he came in, a couple of lefties coming up. He got Gunnar to line out, but then Mountcastle, the righty, with the base hit. Cowser, the lefty, getting the double, making it 2-1 at the time. Greg Weisser, he came in, he struck out Beavers. But then after that, getting back to this bullpen, right? Sure, what do you have liked? A night for the bullpen to maybe take a step back with their struggles over the last several games here, and have a day off tomorrow as well. Yeah, but shout out to them, man. They really stepped up here tonight, and they kept the Red Sox in this thing all the way until the end. Steven Matz, he looked great. That's the spot that Steven Matz needs to come in. And also, I also liked Greg Weisser coming into that spot as well. I like that spot for Weisser. Those middle innings, where, game's close. That's where I like Weisser coming in. I'm okay with that. I don't know what it is. When he comes in like 7th inning, 8th inning, I just get the butterflies, man. But I like that spot for him coming in right there. But Matt's looked great. Couple of Ks. Jordan Hicks. Hey, Hicks looking better. Listen, I said this. I want Jordan Hicks to get himself right. But that's an electric arm to have in your bullpen. I want this guy to do well, right? Bernardino, welcome back, by the way. Brennan Bernardino coming back. Kind of nice to see him again. He's been a pretty reliable guy for the most part. He's had some issues here this year, but let's see if he's good to go moving forward. Chapman, he shut it down. Whitlock was fine. Sure, gave up the run there, but it was a couple of ground outs. He had the ghost runner, so that made it 4-3 at the time. But this offense here. I mean, let's just get to this. And I'll get back to Buehler here in a second. It's not like the Red Sox didn't put themselves in good positions. They had many good positions here tonight. You let off the first 3 innings with a base hit. Only 1 run over that span. First inning, Roman with the leadoff base hit. Story with a base hit. Massa striking out. Not a good night for Massa here tonight. He hasn't been hitting very well at all lately either. Second inning, Romy, leadoff base hit. He gets caught stealing second base. Nate Lowe with the flyout. Toro with the K. Had a couple of Ks here tonight. I'll get back to Toro in just a second. Third inning, Connor Wong with a base hit. Roman ground ball to second base. Jackson Holiday had the error. Duran, he moved the runners over on the ground out. Sagano had the balk. Connor Wong ended up scoring on that. Look at Connor Wong. Absolute legend, scoring a run. And then Roman moving over to second base, but then Story with the ground out. 8th inning. Let's move forward a little bit here. Cade Stroud coming in. Connor Wong, once again, getting on with a base hit. Roman, base hit. Bregman with the walk. Here comes Rico Garcia. Absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Like I said at the start of the show, this guy was in the minor leagues all year last year. He had an ERA over a 9 in 2023, pitching better this year. This man struck out Jarren Duran, Trevor Story, and Massa with the bases loaded, no outs. Rico freaking Garcia. Ice in that man's veins. Holy cow. Oh, it doesn't stop there, though. Oh, you ready for more? I hope you're all ready for this. I hope your stomachs are feeling all right, because it gets even worse. I don't know. Bases loaded, 3 strikeouts. That's pretty tough. 9th inning, Romy with the walk. Well, it didn't get worse here. This was actually a pretty nice moment. Romy with the walk, Nate Lowe with the home run. We just played that a second ago. Tied up the game. Great moment for Nate Lowe. Especially after the down year that he's been having. Right? This guy was a World Series champion just a couple of years ago. And, the down year he's having, nice to see that man have a good moment this year. But then Toro, Wong with the Ks. But then you get 3 straight walks. Bases loaded again. But then Trevor Story with the ground out. Not a great night for Trevor Story. 10th inning, Seti, hit by pitch. You got the ghost runner at second. Romy, ground out. Move Story over to third. Nate Lowe with the walk. Toro with the double play. Again, when Buehler comes back, I just have a hard time seeing Toro. I guess you can keep him on the bench, but is it worth just DFAing at this point? I don't know. When Buehler comes back, though. 11th inning. Wong. Sack bunt. Pretty good game here for Wong. Let's actually check. What was the final line here for Wong tonight? Hey, he went 2 for 4. Look at Connor Wong. Batting average almost up to a 200. Absolute legend, man. Absolute legend. Nate Eaton getting on to third base. Roman with the fly ball. In the moment, it looked... I'm trying to get back to that of what I was processing at that point. I remember thinking it didn't look very deep, but after watching a couple of replays, I do think it was deep enough for, if you got Bregman on third, who's, not really, slow by any means, but, I don't know if Bregman scores on that, but someone like Nate Eaton, I think he scores on that. And it's 1 out, I just think, 1 out in the moment. I don't know, man, because at that point, that's just tough. I don't see how you don't score on that. That's tough, man. That's tough. Again, was it, Kyle Hudson at third base coach? Was there something there? I'm not sure. Just a bad hesitation, in my opinion. The guy has a ton of speed, and he would have scored. I mean, that's hindsight, of course. You have to think in the moment, back was turned to the throw. It's like, well, what do you do there? If it was any bit deeper, I don't think he hesitates at all. But I think there was that slight doubt that maybe it wasn't quite deep enough, at least from his perspective, right? And the third base coach, of course. There is a little bit of hindsight with it because it was a bad throw, but I just think, man, you got to trust your speed. You got to trust who you got there at third. And man, in the end, it's tough. Bregman with the fly out to end the game. That's a tough one here. That's a tough one. Brutal night here for this offense. And again, there's a lot of questions here. You got the off day tomorrow. It doesn't help at all that Buehler could possibly be going on the IL. That's not going to help. If he was healthy and good to go, I think that makes maybe the Toro decision a little bit healthier, a little easier if he was healthier. And then Nate Lowe, I just think you have to go with Nate Lowe at first base every day at this point. Not just because of the home run. I just think, with the experience that he has and the track record that he has, even if he doesn't even hit, it's still going to be probably what you've been getting from Toro anyway. And you're going to get that Gold Glove first base defense. You're going to get that championship winning player. So you have those intangibles with him. So at this point, I don't see how Lowe does not start every day. So we'll see. That's to be determined on Toro. I would imagine he's going to get DFA'd at some point. And then, getting back to Walker Buehler, I don't know. Because that getting pulled early here tonight, I think that was pretty telling, honestly. Maybe I'm wrong, but you got some dudes like Peyton Tolley that is, I don't want to rush him by any means, right? It's only a couple of starts at AAA, but they're very high on him. You can't help but wonder if you give him a shot, or if you go with someone like Cooper Criswell, where it seems like anytime you give the guy the ball, he at least keeps you in the ball game for the most part. Or do you give Fitz another shot? I just wonder. I think one more time I'll say it. I think Buehler getting pulled in that spot, that said something to me. We'll see if that actually is anything. We'll see. Everyone, before I do get to the Yankee series, we're going to preview that. We're going to talk about some guys on the IL. I do have to wrap it up right there. If you are with us on Nesson, if you want to see the end of the show, come on over to YouTube, come on over to Monster Territory and see what else I got to say. But Nesson viewers, thank you for watching. We'll see you Game 1 after the Yankees, for the Yankee series after Game 1. We'll see you then. So let's get to it here, shall we? Before we do, though, we have one more word from our sponsor. I'll be right back.
FT fans, you want to have confidence when you go out in public? Absolutely. We can't all wear a backwards hat like me, but you can get some True Classic fit shirts. It almost looks like, oh, wow, this shirt was tailored for me. Nope, it's every True Classic. This John is soft, it is smooth, and it makes you look a little jacked. I'm just saying.
And Kratz, you are jacked, and you are spot on. True Classic is the spot to go if someone's like, where do I get shirts? True Classic. The colors are fantastic. They've sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers. Their shirts just win. The feel, the tailored look, the price. We all wear True Classic on FT. Cam Maben literally can't say enough about them too next time we have Cam on. Hit up trueclassic.com/foul. Give it a shot. Upgrade your wardrobe and save on True Classic at trueclassic.com/foul. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
All righty, let's take a look here at the updated standings. I would love to be able to start with the division, but we got to stick with the wild card for now. And, listen, we've been getting a nice little break here. The Seattle Mariners, they lose again here tonight. They've lost 4 straight. So, hey, if there is a positive, besides the bullpen tonight, and Nate Lowe with the home run, there's another positive, right? We can still find some positivity here, even on a rough night. So the Red Sox still firmly in the second wild card spot. But you can't help but wonder, man. You've had a couple of wins here that were in your grasp over the last few, especially Game 3 against the Marlins. And, you could be a little closer even to the Blue Jays at this point. But the Yankees, they are absolutely wrecking the Rays right now. It is 12-2. So the Yankees, they are on their way to moving up a full game over the Red Sox. But this is going to be a huge series in the Bronx starting on Thursday. So let's go take a look here at that upcoming series. Let's take a look at the probable pitching matchups. 4-game series. There's a lot of implications with this one, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of implications. You got Lucas Giolito going up against Luis Heel, Game 1. Brian Bayo, Max Fried in Game 2. Garrett Crochet, Will Warren, Game 3. And then Dustin May against Carlos Rodon on Sunday. I'm guessing that is on ESPN. I would imagine. I would think. Saturday, is that going to be on Fox? You know it's Red Sox Yankees. You know it's going to be nationally televised. This is going to be a big series. Not just obviously for these teams, but here on Monster Territory as well. I'm expecting a lot of people to come on out for the post-game coverage. But some decent pitching matchups here. Really excited to see Giolito. And then against Luis Heel, Brian Bayo, Max Fried. That's pretty solid as well. Will Warren, he's had an up and down year. Carlos Rodon, Max Fried, though, they've been pretty solid for the most part. Now, Luis Heel, looking at him, the ERA has not looked pretty through a few games, over a 5. But the FIP is looking okay, so I do think he is going to only just get better. He came back from a lat injury not too long ago, but he's getting a decent amount of strikeouts so far. The command is a little off with him up to this point, but he has kept the ball in the yard. So that's a good sign with Heel. With him, you're going to get the good stuff. Rookie of the year last year. You're going to get the good fastball. You're going to get that nasty slider. He's going to throw that change up in there as well. So, but I wonder if the Red Sox can counter that where, they can use that bit of rust against him. But we saw the way these bats were tonight. Hopefully the off day can keep them, get them rejuvenated a little bit. And then Lucas Giolito, obviously, having a solid year up to this point. He was very good against the Marlins his last time out. He did give up 7 hits, but he only gave up the 1 earned, 6 1/3 innings, struck out 5. So excited to see what Giolito can do in that one. And then Brian Bayo, having a good start his last time out against the Marlins, had a bounce-back performance. Looking at Max Fried, taking a look at what he did in his last start. He improved to 13-5. And wow, he actually, hold on a second. I was about to say, okay, Max Fried, I guess, did pretty well. No, this guy got wrecked against the Cardinals his last time out. He got the win, but he gave up 7 runs on 8 hits. And he walked 5. And a walk over 5 innings, sorry. Holy cow. Bad night for Max Fried. So let's see if the Red Sox can get to him. It'd be nice to have Rob Refsnyder. It'd be really nice to have Rob Refsnyder in that lineup. And that's the thing, I think this Red Sox lineup, it's felt a little, I don't know, it feels like something's been missing. And you haven't had Buehler the last couple. Rob Refsnyder has been dealing with that oblique, so once those guys get healthy, I think that's going to really glue this offense a bit more back together. And I think they're going to be okay. But it's tough to have, not to have Rob against Fried and Rodon this coming weekend. That would have been nice. So it is what it is. But taking a look here speaking of Rob Refsnyder, taking a look at the updated injuries, or the latest on the injuries. Justin Slayton, he did pitch for the Woo Sox, I believe today. Yes, was that earlier today? Through 15 pitches, he struck out all 3. I would imagine he's going to be back this coming weekend. I mean, striking out the side, stuff looked pretty good from what I read. So I think you're going to see Justin Slayton back. He got the off day tomorrow. So Wilyer Abreu, I touched on that earlier in the show. Alex Cora saying there is a chance that maybe he could go on the IL. Looks like it's just day to day at this point. And with Rob Refsnyder, he had been bothered by a sore oblique for a few days before his placement on the injured list. The earliest he is eligible to be activated is August 25th. So you still got a little under a week until you're going to be able to see Refsnyder at the earliest. So also, I don't know if I ever mentioned this. Tanner Houck, I mean, I think this went under the radar a little bit. Tough year for Tanner Houck, but did undergo Tommy John surgery and also had something cleaned up with his flexor tendon yesterday. So, hey, it's going to be a little while again before we see Tanner Houck, but had that good year last year, but he just didn't have it this year, and tough to see. But Tanner Houck, best of luck. There was Cutter Crawford. He's not going to be coming back this year. He had to get wrist surgery. He was in the Red Sox dugout, I believe, yesterday or a couple of days ago. And I guess he had been doing work around the house, and I guess he did something. I don't know. He turned that wrench the wrong way, or that screwdriver turned it the wrong way. I don't know what the heck happened. Man, oh man. Cutter Crawford, please. No more fixing anything around your house. My goodness. But everybody, I'm going to wrap it up right there. We are out of time here tonight. I hate that we had to, end it tonight. I was hoping we're going to have a happy ending here tonight. It was a tough night all night for the Red Sox for the most part. Nate Lowe coming up with a big moment there. And, brutal night, unfortunately. But hopefully a better series against the Yankees. The Red Sox, they tend to do well here against the Yankees. We'll see. Let's see if they can get this turned around. You got the off day tomorrow. Rare Wednesday off day. So get away from the Red Sox tomorrow. Go enjoy whatever you got going on tomorrow. Get away from everything. We'll be back here Thursday for Red Sox Yankees. Have yourself a good night. I'll see you next time.